Subscribe to the Hit That Line Podcast Network, brought to you by Breeden RV Center. Breeden RV Center, family owned and operated, a no-pressure, laid-back atmosphere, and always home of the free maintenance for life.
Y'all better put him in the Heisman. Got that wood right here, baby.
This is the Bud Light Seltzer Morning Rush Podcast. Bud Light Seltzer, for those anytime easy drinking occasions.
I enjoy hearing you every morning.
Your mom is so fat when she wears heels, she strikes oil.
Them hogs, man, them hogs can't do no wrong, fella.
Have you ever slapped a bag, Tommy?
You think this week might be a week you might be able to get some of those younger guys in there along the offensive line, St. John, Crawford, those guys?
Lord willing, we will. That's not the plan. I mean, the plan is to go play as good as we can, and certainly if something happened, then it'd be good for the guys that haven't had opportunities, but we're going in like it's going to be a barn burner, and I don't even know if that's a word, but we're going in like it's going to be a really competitive game.
Do you want to welcome in Charlie, who's in Camden? Charlie, you have some thoughts on the Arkansas Pine Bluff game this weekend?
I want to start with that, but I was thinking about yesterday when I called in. I went back and looked at our last few recruiting classes, and I looked at the defensive linemen that we've recruited. And, you think about guys like from that 2019 class, I think you had Gregory, Zach Williams, and I can't remember who the other one was, but those are guys that I feel like, unfortunately, haven't, I've called in and I've talked about us not having a lack of pass rush. Those are the guys that I feel like have not, developed into what I thought they might. And then you have Soley as well. He hasn't really, come on like I thought he might eventually. Those are guys that you get back next year that you hope one or two of them, really develop in the off season. Now, I wanted to ask you guys, does Trey Williams get another year? 55? Does anybody know? Does he get another year to come back, or is that his decision?
I'm going to let Clay answer that.
He would be eligible under the COVID rules to come back for a fifth year. He's played 4 years.
Okay, cool. Well, that would be awesome if we could get him back. And also, what about Dorian Gerald? Does he get another year? I know he's been hurt so much, but
he'd have to get a special exemption. Yeah.
Okay.
That would be year number 6 for him.
I know. I'm just looking at it from the standpoint of, you guys know how I feel about the defensive line. If we could get those guys back, and some of these other guys that come along, and I think, Ty, you said it yesterday, hitting the transfer portal, trying to find some guys who can come in here and help with that ability just to go get the quarterback. If we can get that, man, I'm telling you, that's the difference right now with this football team. Yes, you can have, Catalan, if he comes back, that'd be great. But, like I said, been saying, it doesn't really matter who you put back there. You got to be able to go get the quarterback. And if we can get some of those guys to come back and then hit on a guy or two in the transfer portal, whatever. And then, if Barry Odom comes back, I don't know what he'll do. But, I'm still excited. This team is ahead, and Razorback fans need to chill out. We are ahead of the pack. Listen, we have some depth issues right now because, we're banged up. We're just not as good, and some of the other teams, some guys go down or they get banged up. They can put other guys in there just as good. As far as this game goes this weekend, I think we should pull away, and I want all the backs to get, carries. I don't care, as far as Rocket Sanders, Dominique Johnson, that's a great problem to have those two guys, and then A.J. Green for the future. Well, those three guys, that's just, all three do something well. You talk about Dominique, man, that dude, as far as pass pro, I've seen him pick some guys up in pass pro. He's probably the best pass-protecting running back we have. I saw him pull around on a run for KJ a couple of weeks ago, and he just laid into somebody. I mean, and he loves to do it, and that's a great thing. But anyways, I'll hang up and listen. I'm excited for the future.
All right, Charlie.
It's not over. Razorback fans need to chill. All right.
Appreciate it, Charlie. Clay, now I'm looking at Trey Williams. Are we sure that he has another year of eligibility? Because he played 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021. Is that right?
Yeah, he's played 4 years. You can get a fifth year.
It's 5. 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021. Right?
Well, that would be 5 the way you counted.
Yeah. That's what I'm wondering. We'll double check on that because I was when you said that I was thinking about it and I got a text.
So this is his 5th year.
I mean, according to unless the stats on ESPN are wrong, it started in 2017 and 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. So when you said that, I was like, I can't. That sounded weird, but I wanted to go back and double check on that. But you would love to have him back next year, and I'm of the belief when you're in the portal this year. All your skill guys outside of Burks are coming back, assuming no one transfers out. You got to hit defense, right? Like that is and Charlie just brought up like in the defensive line. They've got to hit defense hard and heavy, and I know they'll have some offensive linemen that will leave after this year. That will be an area of concern as well. But I mean, any disagreement from you, Tommy, or you, Clay?
The portal? You talking about the portal?
Yeah, when it comes to getting guys.
I think that anytime you get a shot at a defensive end, that's the number one priority. It is every year, and you're talking about a difference maker, somebody that can change your defensive line depth chart. Well, then but it's that's the hardest one to find, and what they took Xavier Kelly, and that didn't work out. I mean, you got to make sure that they're going to help your team. They're going to be starters, and not all of the transfer guys have panned out.
Yeah. Tommy, and I agree with you. Defense needs to be the emphasis, but you look at Warren Thompson, a wide receiver this year, who no one talked much about beginning of the year. You didn't really know what you had with him, and guys, he's clearly been a key part of making some big catches with that big 6'3", 6'4" frame. So I mean, you can find guys that can be a starter.
Yeah, anybody that can be, and he's a starter now. Yeah, and that's it's he came as a walk-on, so that was a pretty easy decision there. You get a guy like that as a walk-on. Now you gave him a scholarship.
He didn't stay a walk-on long.
No, I mean, once you're in the starting lineup, you won't be a walk-on anymore.
Yeah, Coach said, "Well, you got to start blocking, and I'll give you a scholarship." And Warren started blocking in practice and got a scholarship. So Warren,
I think you're just looking for guys that can help you anywhere on the team right now.
But let's be honest. What is more needed right now, offense or defense?
No, your point's right. Yeah. But you're just always looking for help.
What you said is valid too. You'd love a guy to be able to pluck someone like a Warren Thompson with connections to Kendall Briles and him come in and have the production. But here's the deal:
you might want to find a punter. He might, some depth there wouldn't hurt because with Sam Loy been injured, your punt stats are at the bottom of the league and not very good nationally.
Yeah,
so
they're terrible.
Might be another place you look.
Here's something that Coach Pittman addressed yesterday. Now, he didn't do it in the – did y'all hear Bielema? And I didn't pull this clip. I probably should have. Did y'all hear Bielema, what he said about his team?
I read it.
Yeah. He said something to the extent – I'm paraphrasing. I don't want to misquote it. He said something to the extent – y'all can help me out – that – no one on the two deep is helping this football team right now.
He was talking about his offensive lineman in particular.
Yeah, something. And again, I got to go back and list that quote because I don't want to misquote it.
Threw him under the bus.
And just completely trash. And here's what Pittman's not throwing his guys under the bus second string, but he is saying the depth on this team is not where it needs to be necessarily with the other SEC teams.
Sometimes your depth, we're not quite there yet. We're working on it, but sometimes your depth, if you get to having to play your twos a lot for whatever reason, sometimes there's a big slip off. Then some programs there's none. There's some, but not much, and we're noticing that a little bit. That's why we got to get healthy, and we throw our ones out there. We've got a really good football team, and then our depth is coming, but right now we're in position. We're just not making a play.
He's right. I mean, you look at Georgia, Alabama, heck, even LSU. I mean, we've talked about they've lost their starting running back, starting defensive end, best wide receiver, one of their quarterbacks, and they find a way to beat Florida at home on Saturday. That is just the difference, and not just a difference under Sam Pittman, but, guys, really the difference that has been in Arkansas, what would we say, last 20 years? Mm-hmm. Is that a fair estimate of how many years the depth has been an issue relative to where you've been?
You're going to have injuries, and you're going to have 2 or 3 or more starters injured at this point in the year every year. The question is, where's your number 2 compared to your opponent's number 2? And that's been the problem, Clay, is Arkansas, it's not numbers, it's the quality of the depth that, Arkansas is not, the fall-off's more severe at Arkansas, and that's one thing you got to fix in December.
Yeah, they've improved that aspect. And you go back 2-3 years ago, there was a severe fall off. Now it's not, it's not quite the same. But they're still, if you look on the offensive line, if somebody goes down, well, then you move Ty Clary, right? Yeah. It's like he's your backup for 5 spots. Yeah. And that speaks volumes.
The coach said he's banged up too.
Yeah, and it's, so you haven't developed the depth there. But they're not through the second year of the Pittman era, and his recruits, they're either babies or they're not on campus yet, in his 2 classes. So, full classes, what I'm talking about. So it's the depth is going to come but it's tough on everybody when you lose guys to the portal and that, you have, players transferring out, because they either don't like time or they see it, greener somewhere else. But we said before the season, that they still lack depth. They're better, but that's the thing. Early in the season when they started winning, the question was, well, how many games are they going to win? Well, my answer is we'll see what happens in mid-season, who they've got left. It's a matchup problem each week that you see. Who's got the most players healthy? And what's their second team like? If they do have a lot of injuries, well, that's what you're into now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you're hoping 2 weeks kind of here, UAPB in a bye week, and get some guys back for 4 games.
Clay, and I remember as a driving up to games as a kid, and us listening to you on Sports Talk, and you've said that same statement for however many years you've been doing sports radio, but it's still it's the exact same thing because it holds true. It holds true, and it seems like such a simple thing to say, but when you look at the actuality of what he's saying and what other people are saying when it comes to it, it's 100% true. And that you were talking about depth with Arkansas basketball earlier. As some way, shape, or form, the starting lineup's going to shake out. With KK Robinson going down last year and some other things happening, it always plays out in a way you don't expect it to, but it's going to shake out in a certain way.
The difference is in recruiting, and you look at weekends at Alabama or Auburn or LSU or Florida or Georgia, and just the elites in recruiting of this league. When they have a big recruiting weekend, how many 5-stars do they have? 4 and 5 stars do they have on campus taking officials and unofficials? It'll be dozens, right? It'll be 30 or 40 sometimes that they herald that visited their campus. Well, Arkansas may have 30 or 40, but they're not all 4 and 5 stars, and that's the difference in these programs. Is you're able to get all these guys over 5 consecutive classes, and you just build that quality depth. And Sam Pittman may improve that. I don't know if he'll ever completely close that gap because of the size of our state, but Clay, I think that gap is slowly closing.
Yeah, and there's players on this roster that are in the developmental stage that will help the depth next year. And they're not playing now, they're redshirting. And there may be some that that you can play 4 games. Well, this is the point of the year where you start to look, all right, maybe we sprinkle some of these guys in. But yeah, it's a process, and the process sometimes is bumpy.
And you may have a list. I don't have a working list, Clive, who hasn't played to this point. And the red shirt factor of you being able to play the 4 games, you would think you might see some people for the first time perhaps this week against Pine Bluff.
Yeah, if they've practiced.
Yeah, if they're correct.
Yeah, if they're in the depth chart and they practiced, then you might sprinkle them in. But most of those guys are on the scout team.
Yeah, so this you might start seeing some of those names just because they do get an opportunity to play in those 4 games now and retain that red shirt. Hey, Arkansas Valley Electric and Wave Rural Connect has opened more zones, and now they've got a new zone open with high-speed fiber internet for their customers. It's called the Peter Pender Zone, which is south of Ozark, near Chalksville, Cecil, Roseville, Webb City, those areas. You can now get high-speed internet at a great price. In fact, it starts at $49.95 a month, and you can upgrade to a gig of service for $79.95 a month. Phone packages for $29.95. TV packages start at $32.95 with Wave Rural Connect. Call 1-833 4Wave RC. That's 833 4Wave RC. And find out if you live in a zone that they have got service to now. That's Wave Rural Connect and Arkansas Valley Electric Cooperative, changing the communities they serve.
Y'all know what a second cousin is by its definition?
It's when your cousin has a child and that becomes your second cousin, right?
A child of one parent's first cousin. Are you guys, you and Clay, are y'all friends with any of your second cousins? I haven't talked to my second cousins in quite a number of years, but do you guys have relationships with your second cousins?
Most of my second cousins are my kids' age or something like that. But yeah.
I wouldn't know any of mine.
Okay.
I wouldn't know that I even have any.
Okay. Well, the NBA is starting back up tonight, and this is a wild quote. I completely forgot about this, but with the NBA beginning, I want to play this clip from Jeff Van Gundy about second cousins.
What does second cousins mean? Well, it's not.
I can't go. I don't want to go into it.
All right, when people say it, I never know what they mean or what you're allowed to do when you're a second cousin. What are you talking about? I'm just talking about. I don't know what a second cousin means.
I am so grateful for this commercial right now.
So is that
called an eligible receiver in Oklahoma? That's what it's called.
That's what I was going into. Is that more likely to be taken advantage of in Alabama, Oklahoma, Tennessee? I mean, when you hear those comments,
all of the above.
All of the above. Okay, I'm glad we not necessarily narrowed that down, but we came to that conclusion this morning when it comes to second cousins, and it's clips like that makes Jeff Van Gundy fantastic. I just, some of these guys like Bill Walton and stuff, the tangents and the rabbit and bunny trails that they go on, I just don't understand how that pops in their head. And I guess we have some of those. We have some of those during our morning rush program, but
we got 3 hours every day.
Yeah,
we got 15 hours every week. Ooh.
It's a little different.
Well, I've always heard that the smaller the town, the more relevant the conversation of second cousins is comes into play. So when you run out of options, right?
Narrow the field.
Yeah.
It's the. Have either of you seen Wolf on Wall Street?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. I'm assuming you've seen it, Drew. You remember Jonah, and I can't think of Jonah Hill's character, and Leonardo DiCaprio asked him, like, so there's like rumors going around. Did you marry your cousin? And he's like, yeah, it's just rumors, whatever. And it's like, so it's not true. It's like, no, well, I was just sick of her getting hit on when she was younger, and I just didn't. I'm just watching this for the first time, just like, what is going on? So I would assume that there's probably been similar occurrences, like you mentioned, in Oklahoma, Alabama, Tennessee, and some of our other
all the neighboring states, not our state,
not our state.
Why you got to throw in my home state?
I'm trying to think of ones. What else touches Missouri and
honestly, Clay's not wrong. Growing up in a very small town in Tennessee, luckily I was the firstborn in my family in the state of Tennessee and never had to deal with this. But a lot of my classmates had to ask their parents if they were related to their significant other at one point or another before they got going, type of thing.
That would be terrifying to find out following something. Yeah, I just, golly. Thank goodness I was born in a somewhat decent-sized city, because that would just freak me out.
Yeah, this is a friend of mine that grew up in Ozark, played on a baseball team, and they had a road trip, and it was a little town. I'm not going to say what the town was, but the scorekeeper for the team that went and got the lineup from the other team came back, and all of the players had the same last name. The entire team. Now you go figure that one out.
Oh, what a time to be alive! Probably better that you kept the name of the town to yourself.
No,
Clay.
I can understand why you'd want to, because they're in the listening area.
Smart.
I don't know how to segue out of this one. You dug the hole. Yeah.
We're back and better than ever. A new web interface to start the basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all basketball and football action this season. Head to the new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BELIEVE50 to receive your bonus. That's BLEAV 50 to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, and baseball postseason, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. Joshua's Fine Jewelry in beautiful downtown Russellville has been calling the Hogs since 1994. If you need a battery for your watch, a piece of jewelry repaired, or a one-of-a-kind engagement ring, Joshua's Fine Jewelry is the place for all your jewelry needs. Come see our award-winning designer to make your jewelry ideas come to life on a big screen TV, or find something special for your loved one in the case. End of the year sale starts November 1st. Like us on Facebook or visit our website at joshuasfinejewelry.com.
This is your Hog Update on the Morning Rush. Brought to you by Mr. Sparky. Need a licensed electrician to service your home? For one of their local pros, call 888-8-SPARKY.
Yo, Arkansas opens up as a 51.5-point favorite against Arkansas Pine Bluff. 51.5.
Is Vegas putting the line, or is that the offshore lines?
Double check on that real quick.
Sometimes these FCS games,
they don't put them at all.
Don't get them, so
51.5 though. That's a good chunk of points, isn't it, Tommy?
I wonder how they got that half.
Yeah. The 51 just wasn't enough, was it?
Hook, right? In betting lingo, the hook.
Bookmaker and BetDSI.
Yeah, there you go.
I would.
That's not Caesar's Palace.
Those are offshore counsel.
You may never get your money if you win.
You go in one of those books out there, they'll say UAPB. What is that?
Yeah.
Clay, we were talking about this yesterday.
For a 51.5-point dog, that's what that is.
Yeah, a big one. Clay, we were talking about this yesterday. Tommy was talking about Rocket Sanders, and I said a couple weeks ago, I remember being like, I think he could be the starter by season's end. Now, Dominique Johnson got the start on Saturday, and Coach Pittman was kind of very coy about his answer. I think it was, I can't remember who asked him that at the end of the press conference yesterday, but Rocket right now is second in the Southeastern Conference in rushing, guys, and as a freshman. I want to make sure I get that in. Second in the SEC as a freshman. This young man was recruited. I mean, he played wide receiver, played running back. He played all things at, not Rockhurst, Florida. Clay, help me out where he's
Rockledge?
from. Rockledge, Florida. And now he's kind of coming. He is just a bruiser. 6'2", looks like he's a junior or senior based on his body type. And, guys, it's going to be fun to watch him in his career at Fayetteville.
I think competition, makes the world go round. And they've got it in the backfield right now. Mm-hmm. So you can base the starter each week on who has the better week of practice. And I bet you that's what they did. And I think that Dominic Johnson has got a lot of things going too, and he's after the game, Sam said they've got to give him more carries.
Yep.
So it's like, hey, you got to feed the monster, right? And they, it's when you've got good ones, it's makes it fun. I think eventually it'll settle out in games, and you'll see which one is the more dominant player. But it probably will come down. I can remember 75 when you had Ben Cowens and you had Jerry Eckwood and you had Ike Forte and Roland Fuchs, and you just go on, and it's like, well, who's the starter? Well, it turned out injuries determined the starter.
Right.
The running backs get beat up, so that might be what determines which one has the better career. And I hate to say that, but it's like, who can stay healthy at running back in the SEC? It's a challenge.
243 rushing yards per game. That's fourth in the SEC, eighth nationally. Arkansas's leading rusher yards-wise is Traylon Smith at 435. Guys, I feel like this week against UA Pine Bluff might determine whether Arkansas even has a 1,000-yard rusher this year. If one of them is allowed to kind of run wild a little bit and have a 130 or 40 yards. That's not been the MO. You're going to have some big yards this week, Clay, if anyone on this running back list is going to get to 1,000. And I think eventually no one's going to get to 1,000 yards on Arkansas's running back room.
Yeah, the leading rusher will probably be I think they'll probably all get 12, 14 carries. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be one that gets 20 in this game. You don't want to beat somebody up at this point in the season. So it might be the guy that hits 2 80-yard runs,
right,
or something like that.
Right. So but this is, as far as stats, this could be a big week to see if anyone can even get close to 1,000 by the end of the year.
I was surprised to hear Coach Pittman touch on this yesterday. And one of the things I appreciate that Coach does is when he's talking about another player, another coach, he always uses the same phrase. Well, you'll have to ask him. And when asked about Jalen Catalon potentially coming back this next season, here's what he had to say.
Well, I think you'd have to talk to him, but in all my thought process is that he'll come back. But I think you'd have to talk to him about it. He'll know the answer better than me.
Now, I think, Tommy, you and I were in the belief that there was no chance he was coming back based on his just projections at the NFL draft, where he's slated first, second, maybe in third round. I think it's more first and second than anything. But Clay, is there a legitimate possibility that your All-American safety decides that, hey, I want to be back in Fayetteville another year?
Well, the problem with what you just said is the projections. Well, who's doing the projections? Well, it's Mel Kiper. It's Todd McShay. I mean, those guys, they're making their judgment off of what they see, and you need to poll the NFL general managers or their scouting services, which is what Sam's going to do when Jalen asks him to. They'll get the feedback and what those guys say, and the projections that the NFL draft, mock drafts, all those we're making were based on a healthy Jalen Catalon. Well, he's not now.
Yeah.
And we know that I'm going to use your phrase. He butters his bread with hits with his shoulder, right?
Yes.
And his shoulders aren't sound. Yeah. They have taken some unbelievable hits, and he's done that to himself. And what will his shoulder be like after this surgery? We assume that it's going to be good, but that's a question mark that you put beside his name, and I'm sure that the NFL teams are putting a question mark there. He's a rebuilt guy, and I believe this is the second shoulder surgery. So that leaves some doubt, right?
Yeah, that sounds right. And it's a good point from just the injury perspective, a healthy versus a non-healthy Jalen Catalon. All right, one more thing to get to on our Hog Update, brought to you by Mr. Sparky. That would be the sold-out crowd in Bud Walton Arena this season.
Razorback Ticket Office, this is Coach Muss. We have one ticket remaining. If you want it, get it now. It's yours! We're officially sold out! Let's go!
So Muss and his team reenacted a skit in I don't know if that was actually the Arkansas Ticket Office. They made it look like it actually was. But as you just heard from Coach Muss, the season is sold out in Bud Walton Arena, Tommy.
Yeah, and that video, they throw the confetti, everything goes. That's a one-take deal. You got to get all of that in one take because you can't clean up all the confetti and all the mess they made after he said, let's go. And so they nailed it there. Muss is a genius actor too. He got it all in one take. Beautiful acting there on answering the phone. So
yeah, I guess you'd have to go to a different room.
Yeah,
we're going to stage 2.
Stage 2.
Well, and that's going to do it for your Hog Update, brought to you by Mr. Sparky.
You don't have to put up with any malarkey. Call 888-8
Charlie Canman, hold on. We will get you on the start of hour number 3, and you're welcome to jump in here as well at 877-377-6963. There's 5 SEC teams right now in the AP Top 25 for basketball, and Arkansas is going to be one of those teams vying to be first in both the conference regular season standings and when they get to the SEC tournament as well. This year it's in Tampa. It's not in Nashville. They've moved it that one-off year or whatever. I know they did in, I think, St. Louis years back.
In St. Louis, they've done New Orleans, they've done Tampa. The ones I remember.
Wouldn't mind it being in New Orleans again.
But since they've moved away from Atlanta, even in Atlanta though, they rotated around to some different sites every third or fourth year, whatever it was.
So this is going to be a fun year for Arkansas basketball, and the exhibition. I keep saying expedition. Exhibition game is on Sunday,
Yeah,
and
there's
it's
2 of them coming up.
And then you've got the regular season against Mercer. That first game is November the 9th. So y'all, we know we're less than a month out, but we're getting closer and closer to this Arkansas basketball team.
Try the new Bud Light Seltzer Lemonade. The taste of sweet lemonade meets the refreshment of a hard seltzer. Original black cherry, strawberry, and peach lemonade. The new Bud Light Seltzer Lemonade.
They just threw him out of the game. He's gotten his second technical, and he's been thrown out of the ball game.
3-0 to Schwarber. He kicks and he delivers. Swing. There's a long drive to right field. Deep toward the grandstand. Tucker looking up. It is gone into the grandstand. Grand slam. Kyle Schwarber. 6-0 Red Sox. Can you believe it?
That audio is courtesy of WEEI in Boston as the Red Sox game number 3 against the Houston Astros, 12-3. They find themselves in a good situation right now, and you got the Dodgers and Braves back at it tonight. Tommy, this is again, that's one of the most exciting plays in baseball to me. It's a grand slam.
It is. What's the play you like to see the most though? Is it a grand slam for me? If there's a man at third and there's a ball hit to center field, that throw from center field to home plate, the crash that used to come before they changed the rule a little bit, that to me is about as exciting as all it gets. I understand you want your team to hit a grand slam, but man, who's not on the edge of their seat when that center fielder's firing that ball in there?
I would say that's the issue now is there's no crash. That attraction was taken away when they stopped the wipeout and
the Buster Posey
rule is a great way to put it. But yeah, it's when you don't have that possibility, and I know you see it every once in a while, but is it an ejection or what do they do with it if you hit the guy? Is it suspension? I don't know.
I think they're maybe just out.
Or just out. Well,
Yeah.
that takes away from a lot of the luster of that play to me.
But it's still pretty exciting to see whether or not the center fielder can get the throw on line, the catcher can make the catch and the tag. I don't know. They're all great plays, but to me, that's about as exciting as it gets for 5 or 6 seconds.
Yeah, that's probably one of the top 3. One that I always like is when there's a deep fly ball and it's guessing it might be a home run, might not. The center fielder, the left fielder, right fielder standing at the warning track and goes up for it. That's always pretty exciting.
So, do you want Boston Dodgers? I think the TV networks probably doing this. What would make the most exciting World Series here?
I think for our audience, it's the Braves being in it because that is, I would say, the 4th favorite team around here.
The Cardinals are clearly number 1.
Cardinals, Rangers, Cubs, Cardinals, Royals, Rangers,
Cubs have a big representation, particularly in the north central part of our state. There's a lot of folks that moved from that part of the country into the Mountain Home area.
Maybe 5th.
So, but I grew up watching Braves games on WT. A lot of people my age grew up watching those Braves games.
That's why I'm thinking that just for our audience, for the networks, I think you're right. For our audience, I think they would like to see the Braves in that at some point. And the Braves right now, they're doing what they need to do in order to get to the World Series. Now, last night you had a great Monday Night Football game. The Bills looked like the best team in the NFL. Not to say that a close loss in Nashville doesn't deter them from being just that, but a 4th down stop from the Tennessee Titans defense was the difference last night.
Allen under center. Sneaking. I don't know. He did not make that. I do not know. Let's see where they spot it. He did not make that. The Titans think they have stopped it. Let's wait. Allen tried to sneak. He got nothing, or so it appeared. He got it. They got it. They did it. They did it. Yes. Not yes. Not yes. Hell yes.
That was courtesy of 104.5 The Zone in Nashville, and that I think is Dave McGinnis, who is a former Tennessee Titans either coach or player, and you heard the voice of Mike Keith as well, and the excitement level. So last night, Sean McDermott elects to go for it in a 4th and 1 situation, 16 seconds left. It's 34-31. Titans. So if they kicked the field goal, they could have tied. He elected to go for it. Josh Allen slips and falls up just short. Jeffrey Simmons, former Mississippi State defensive lineman, also gets in there as well. And some Bills fans were kind of frustrated with the decision last night. We could have kicked the field goal and gone to OT.
So big loss for the Bills from the standpoint, I guess, of just trying to maintain and keep a grip on home field advantage in the playoffs, right? Because, I mean, the Chiefs, we were talking about that yesterday with the Chiefs having to, presumably go on the road in the playoffs. I know we're a ways from that, but these are games you pay attention to from that standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Bills right now at 4-2. Your Ravens, Drew, are actually the leaders right now in the AFC at 5-1. You got a couple teams at 4-2, like the Titans, Chargers, Bengals, some others. So that's going to be interesting to see who gets that home field advantage. I know Baltimore is a tough place, especially in the wintertime, to play home field. So if they get it, that's going to be big for them, along with Buffalo. But that's going to be a fascinating.
It gets a little cold there too.
Yeah, just a little bit. So Bills Mafia, I know, was disappointed last night. Now, speaking of home field advantage, the Dallas Cowboys are on track to be in home field advantage all the way and could get the number 1 seed in the NFC, depending on what else shakes out with like the Arizona Cardinals and others. Dak was in a walking boot after the game. They're calling it a calf strain. This to me is a little concerning if I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, just based on he had a noticeable gimp and limp when I saw him getting off the plane, and that's a little worrisome if I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, based on what we know that team is without Dak and based on how great he's playing, i.e. the game-winning touchdown he had to CeeDee Lamb on Sunday.
And based on his medical history with the ankle problems, and I don't know if it's the same leg or not, but he's had a lot of injuries below the knee, and that have derailed your season. So, yeah, I can see the concern. Hopefully it is just a calf strain. That's probably something they can get him in the training room, get him ready for the next game. So,
yep. All right, next headline for you. So we've talked about this Ed Ogeron stuff a little bit. There's going to continue to be headlines and things come out. Now, these are all alleged reports. I don't know if this has been verified or whatever, but this is according to a television station in Louisiana, WBRZ, that multiple practices, there were girlfriends of Ed Ogeron would be in attendance, and they would interfere, or the children of these women and the women themselves would be taking part in the team drills. I don't think you've ever brought in Lauren or Dylan or your 2 daughters in studio and asked them to be on the radio or anything like that to interrupt the show, but that would be the equivalent, I guess, to do that. And I think you know better than that. And I guess Ed Ogeron thought he was above that, but I read that headline and I was just like, there's no way. And I read it again, and I read other stuff, and just some wild things that have come out. And once you win a national championship, you think you're invincible, and I guess Coach Ed Ogeron, according to this report, thought he was invincible. If this is indeed true,
if a coach's family member is sitting in stands or away from the team activities and watching practice, I don't think that's any big deal. People watch practice all the time. It's the part about, you can just see it, right? The girlfriend's kids are out running around, messing with what's going on in practice. Can you imagine how frustrating that'd have to be for the coaches on the staff? The players may or depending on their personalities, may or may not bother them, but can you imagine as the staff? And what do you say? He's the head coach. I mean, what are you going to do? But this is why universities also have an administrator that's assigned to these sports, that go to practices frequently, that keep up with what's going on, so that things like this can get dealt with. And this is probably why we're at the crossroads that they went down over the weekend, that, hey, you beat Florida, but we're not going to let this get away from us. You're gone at the end of the year. And they reached the conclusion, because these are the behind the scenes things. Now, as these things come out, Sam Pittman talked about this yesterday. He was asked about Ed Ogeron and the LSU situation. He said it'd be very difficult for him to continue to coach a team under the circumstances of knowing you're gone at the end of the year. Ed Ogeron said he wants to coach through the end of the year, whatever. If that's a bowl game, fine. Are these little tidbits being leaked and put out there because they'd really like him to just go on down the road now and let somebody else take the reins for the last half, so they don't have any more of these embarrassing moments?
I don't know how you
why is this coming out? This information didn't just leak out. I mean, it's been placed out there.
Yeah, it's like and listen, I know what John Gruden said is you can't defend it in any way, shape, or form. But if you don't think the NFL intentionally leaked that information to take the eyes off the Dan Snyder and probably the other 650,000 emails and the crap that's in that, you're out of your freaking mind.
You know who I think leaked it? Urban Meyer.
to get it out of the way.
How'd he get his hands on it? He got him out of the headlines awfully quick.
Yeah, they won this weekend too, and he said that locker room is about as emotional as some of the locker rooms that he's won a national championship.
We said when that was going, he needs a good scandal elsewhere. Well, he got one.
Yeah, and I think with that situation, Tommy, you're probably spot on. I think that they're going to continue to release little things to the media, different sources that will come out with this information. I don't know how you keep your team focused, especially with all the injuries and stuff that you've had. Maybe they just rally around. Coach O, you could say this about him, his players love him, and regardless if you make mistakes or not, his players, that's one thing. I know Joe Burrow was very disappointed to hear that Coach Ed Orgeron was going to be his final season, but they could use this as a us against the world mentality, even their own administration, which seems, again, we don't know this for fact, but I would anticipate, like you're saying, that they're probably leaking this.
Well, this by itself doesn't get you fired if you're Ed Orgeron, particularly with a national championship. This is just the tip of the iceberg on what's been going on. So if you can imagine, he's as comfortable as he would be to them being in attendance at practice is not the issue. It's the being out on the field. So there's 10 more stories that would make your jaw drop more than this did. And I think some of this is getting leaked out so the fan base can understand why Scott Woodward did this.
You also have David in South Arkansas texting in that Coach Ed Orgeron is learning from the Bobby Petrino School of Coaching Etiquette. I'd say that's a good way to put it. Now, I saw this report, Tommy, that small turkeys are going to be harder to get this season because of COVID. I asked you that yesterday. I know our friends Wade and Morgan always do the arts, either fried turkeys or Cajun turkeys or whatever, but I wonder, we've talked about shortage in supply. I mean, turkeys, I saw them in Aldi yesterday, the big old Butterball ones. I wonder if this is going to be harder for families to get a hold of one of these suckers this Thanksgiving season.
Why would you want a small turkey? That'd be the first question I had.
And that's the report I saw, but it would be, it's not just small ones, it's big ones.
Yeah,
as well.
I mean, if it's under 20 pounds, are we interested? I mean, I might take an 18. All right, maybe.
How long does it take you to finish a turkey? Typically,
to cook one?
No, like the family to finish one.
Oh, Sunday or Monday, we're done. I mean, and sometimes we just get rid of it.
Throw it.
Yeah.
You can only have
so many. There's only so many ways to eat. I love turkey sandwiches for about 2 days, and then that's enough of that. So yeah, about Sunday or Monday, it's trash day. Move it on out.
Get it out of there?
Yeah.
Okay. Last headline for you this morning. Alan Baltz, 11 years old at Jonesboro. He was named the 2021 Mullet Champ in the kids division. He won by almost 900 votes, had over 25,000. He's going to donate his winnings of $2,500 to Project Zero, which is a foster family organization in Arkansas. But I thought that was really cool for a kid in Arkansas to win this award, and for where he's sending his winnings as well.
Now, is it a surprise that the mullet champions from Jonesboro, though? I mean, let's just be honest. Does that surprise anyone that the 2021 mullet champion in the kids division is from Northeast Arkansas? Not a surprise to anybody listening.
I'm proud of Alan to represent mullet. I'm about to get my hair chopped, I think, at some point next week. But props to Alan, young Alan Baltz of Jonesboro. All right, we're going to get into this question I want to ask. Any chance this Arkansas team doesn't make a bowl game? Coach Pittman's talked about not just Saturday, but yesterday getting back on track. And I want to play this audio from you, him talking about the status of Dalton Wagner and what would be some reasons that this team doesn't figure out, reasons they do figure it out. And we'll get into that in just a sec.
Hey, we're brought to you by our friends at World of Wireless. 877-305-DISH is their number. Deer season underway, and I know Modern Gun coming up, and a lot of people want to be able to watch football at deer camp. If you're headed back to the woods this weekend and you want to watch the games that are going on around the country, you can do it with the Playmaker portable satellite system. It's the easy to use, weighs 8 pounds, it's shaped like a cube, and you just pack it away with your stuff. You take your Dish satellite receiver with you and hook up your TV and all of it, and it's easy to set up. Or if you're going to Little Rock, you're going to be on the golf course tailgating this weekend, here's the best way to watch TV and keep up with all of the other games around the country. 877-305-DISH is their number to call, or you can stop in at their new location. It's been there about a year and a half now, right at the light next door to Frank Rowe Furniture in Barley. It's all at World of Wireless with the Playmaker portable satellite system.
Oh, yeah, he'll return for sure. I anticipate that he'll be back from Mississippi State. They told us whenever he did it'd be about a 21-day recovery as far as being able to get, the healing process and then being able to practice. And that would be from the time he had it, be the Monday of the Mississippi State week. So I anticipate him back.
That was Sam Pittman talking about the status of Arkansas right tackle Dalton Wagner. Ty Clare has been filling in that position, so you will get him back at some point. But I think injuries is where you start, Tommy, with they're starting to pile up a little bit. And while they're not the same season enders as LSU has suffered with the likes of Keyshawn Butte and John Emery and some of their guys over there, they're getting decimated by nicks and bruises here and there.
It's just, you look at the SEC schedule and it's loaded up this week and next with buys. Like, there's only a handful of games when we saw the TV assignments come out. Teams are smart. You put your buy about right where Arkansas has it because you want to be right in the middle, because at this point you are beat up. And I think the schedule sets up great from being able to rehab your team a little bit physically, having UAPB, having the bye week, and then really being, as close to 100% as you can be for that 4-game stretch in November. So I like the way the back end of this sets up. Hopefully these 2 weeks are prosperous from the standpoint of everybody's body feels about as good as it can for a 4-game run.
Now, I think Arkansas Pine Bluff is just cross it off. It's a win. But when you look at the schedule the rest of the way, Mississippi State, who's gone on the road and beaten Texas A&M, then you have LSU, who got a big-time win at home against Florida. You got to go to Death Valley in that game. We'll see if Ed Ogeron is still there or if the guys have rallied around him to close out the year. We know how difficult Alabama is going to be. And then you get Missouri at home, a game that you cannot seem to win outside of 2015. I mean, there are points, if you want to say that this schedule could be easier than you thought it was going to be or more difficult down the stretch. I think you definitely got through the more difficult part of your schedule. But that being said, you can't really overlook any of these teams, even if you're projected to win, which I think they will be in some of these games down the stretch.
Well, there's no gimmies in that 4-game stretch, but in assuming you beat UA Pine Bluff, and I think that's a fair assumption, you're going to have to win 1 to get bowl eligible, but I don't think anybody's going to be happy at 6 right now. I mean, if you have to go into that Missouri game fighting for bowl eligibility, that's not a good sign. So they need to get right physically so they can take care of Mississippi State at home and break this 3-game losing streak. So Arkansas's had a history in the past. New coach, new players, all that. So it's history, not prophecy, to borrow the phrase. But Arkansas has had seasons before where September started great, a slide in October, and then a rally in November. So I fully expect this team to win at least 2 in November and be comfortably above the line to get a bowl game.
I had people texting me yesterday, Tommy, this feels like a Houston Nutt team where they have a great September, a crappy October, and they rally in November, as you just stated.
We said that Saturday after the game that this has the feel of a season 15, 18 years ago like Houston Nutt had.
You'd like to get this team to galvanize and rally around each other. And I don't know what's going to happen in this final 5-game stretch. I know that they're going to win on Saturday. I know they're going to get healthier and hopefully come back with a vengeance against Mississippi State. That'd be great if they just beat the brakes off of the Bulldogs. But like you just stated, you don't want to be in a situation where you find yourself at 5 and 6 and in the final game against the Tigers and be fighting for bowl eligibility. You'd like to kind of get that out of the way after Mississippi State. I know that the Action Network's Brett McMurphy has you projected in the Music City Bowl as of yesterday, and you'd like to be in that situation. You'd rather be there than kind of one of the lesser bowls and that. And I just think Arkansas, it's like Coach Pittman has said over and over again, we still got a lot to play for. This team still has a lot to play for down the stretch. Now, it's not contingent for the second or third, probably the SEC West, but you can still have what many people consider a successful season if you can finish out strong here.
I think who is not going to be satisfied, maybe not ecstatic, maybe your evaluation of this team changed in September, and that's fair, but if you're at 7-5 at the end of the year with a couple of wins in November, I think everyone going into the year, that'd be pretty much right on point with what you thought. Now, more importantly, you're at 1-3 now in SEC play. That's what's got to get corrected.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got to win a couple of those games just to kind of maintain. I know last year was a 10-game schedule and all that, but, you know, doesn't it need to be a step forward or at least to hold serve with that total? So I think that's how I'm looking at it more than anything. You know, yeah, the season total takes care of itself, but let's worry about this SEC total and trying to improve on that. Now, to improve on it, obviously you got to win 3 of the last 4, and that seems like a big ask right now. But I don't think that's out of reach for this team.
I don't think it is either, and I know that LSU was able to get a big-time win against Florida on Saturday, but they are still, if you think Arkansas's beat up when you lose your starting running back, your best wide receiver, your best defensive end, one of your quarterbacks, your best overall player for an indefinite period of time, that's probably not going to return. Arkansas doesn't know the pain that Ed Ogeron and his staff are going through right now with depth issues. Now, they have more depth overall, but when you lose that, the number of players that they have off their ones, not just their 2 deep, but their ones, their starters, that is something that they've had to deal with and somehow navigated and not lost every SEC game to this point. But that is a game that Arkansas can still win, and we always talk about it. It's following the Alabama game. Mm-hmm. LSU, that means everything to them. I think they're going to try and do everything in their power to beat the Crimson Tide, especially in what Coach O's last season. So if they put up a big goose egg or if they play terrible, similar to, I wouldn't say Ole Miss played terrible, but they definitely did not perform to expectations, then they could come out flat the following week.
Well, I think what you'd want in that game is LSU to lose close late, you know, fight all the way to the end and then have the rug pulled out from under them, and maybe they're down. I don't think you want them to if they get beat down. I don't know. I think I'd rather have them, you know, feel like they let one slip through their hands the previous week.
I think they put so much stock into that game. I think if it's a likes of just a different SEC West opponent, I would agree with you there. But they put so much weight into Alabama every single year. If they get the doors blown off, Tommy, I would disagree with the fact that I just think that game means so much to them that if they just get their butts whooped, then they're just going to let go of the rope.
I'm just coming from the standpoint, sometimes when you're close and you think you could have beaten one of your rivals in your division and made a huge statement and it just slips away from you, the hangover of that disappointment sometimes lingers longer, and one loss can become 2 to use that phrase again. But hey, if Arkansas is going to get to 4-4 in the league, they're going to have to beat LSU on the road, because I think a lot of people are like us. They don't think Alabama's even a conversation.
No, it's not to this point. Anything that you've seen this season, I don't know how you could say that, especially the defense they played as late. Maybe Coach Pittman's team will surprise us when they go on the road and take on the Crimson Tide, but I just don't know how you can look at this football team right now and say they have a shot to beat Nick Saban's Alabama squad. Now, maybe I'm completely wrong. I hope I'm dead wrong. I hope they go into Tuscaloosa and give Alabama every bit of a game, but I just don't see it at this point.
Well, they may give them a game, but I just don't see them winning. But hey, if you win your last 2 home games and you're at 7 wins, there shouldn't be a bunch of you out there just crazy mad about the results of this season. I would like to see them win more than 3 SEC games. I think they were good enough to do that, but we'll see how this plays out. A lot of it's going to be about personnel and who they have available to put on the field in these games.
Yeah, and if this senior-laden group that we've always talked about, super senior, how do they want to be remembered? Where do they want to stamp their legacy? Now, I think what they've been able to do, beating both Texas and Texas A&M this season, it's definitely farther along than they've been. But I know Bumper Pool was talking about they wanted to leave it better than they found it. Well, at this point in time, they have, but you want to keep up that traction, keep up that trajectory, and get it back to where you initially started at 4-0. You'd love to finish this final stretch 4-1. We'll see what happens, as Tommy just said, with personnel, and that's going to be a huge part if Arkansas can win 4 of their 5 remaining games.
Have you tried Benville Brewing's new Space Goose Hazy India Pale Ale? It's handcrafted in Arkansas. You'll taste the great tropical citrus, including the passion fruit, the guava, and pineapple. It's creamy, zingy, and zounds the taste buds. It's weird, wonderful, and wacky all at the same time. Try the new Space Goose Hazy India Pale Ale from Benville Brewing.
What were Clay Henry's thoughts when he got the box score in his hands? He's looking at it and didn't have names on it. It had Twitter handles.
frustration.
Because I'm sure when you were looking
I figured
at
them out, though.
yeah,
I could tell who they were.
You had to get some help, though, didn't you?
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think, I could be completely wrong. I don't think the elder statesmen of the Arkansas media give a rat's ass what Arkansas's basketball Instagram handles are. Could be wrong. I don't think Clay cares. I don't think you care. Now, I know them just because I see them on social media.
Well, I would expect you to know them at your age, but
I don't think that. Now, I get the idea, Coach, of sending those out to like the fans and stuff, but I honestly don't think. I
think we've gone a bridge too far.
Completely wrong. That
you cannot.
The Arkansas media cares about the Instagram handles of Ridgeback basketball players.
Clay, you cannot butter your bread putting Instagram handles on the box score.
Gotta do the actual words.
There's just no way that you can do it there, can you?
No, I didn't get it. So, and I mean, of course, that hit me before I got the box score because they had them on the back of their jerseys too.
Yeah, that's called NIL money, right?
And
there
I was just like, okay, I knew exactly why they did that. Yeah, it hit me quickly. In the first 30 seconds, okay, that's the NIL, ramifications there. So I understood why, but it didn't. It was still like, okay, that's not right.
They need a young people's box score and then an old guy's box score that still has actual names on it for me. I'm not that far. Bruce Stanton's a guy that's looked at a lot of box scores in his day, and he joins us now. What would you think if you got all your box scores from now on, Bruce, with Twitter handles or Instagram handles instead of the actual names?
Pipe him in.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The handle I care about is like Clay. It's a rod handle. That's the only handle I care about.
Yeah,
so, is it going to be a pistol grip? Is it going to be a spinning rod? Is it going to be a bait casting handle?
Exactly.
That's what I need.
So Bruce not in studio, as you can tell by joining us at the phone, which I guess is good because he's Bruce, a big Tennessee fan. I was afraid you might throw batteries or mustard bottles at us this morning from the upper deck. So
It's funny, but it's really sad. It's embarrassing to be a Tennessee fan. I know, people, and you're a ref, Tommy, so you deal with a lot of crap, people calling you names.
And I work with
all
Tom.
kinds of stuff. Yeah, exactly. But it's discouraging to see that type of reaction. I mean, it's a football game. People make mistakes. Was it right? Was it wrong? I don't know. But you don't react like that. And I think it's just further exemplifies the turmoil the Tennessee football program continues to be in. You think about 5- and 4-star recruits at that game, and they're getting pelted, and their parents are having to, say, man, I don't know if it's the right place for you. Just people don't think about things like that when they commit acts of stupidity. Yeah. So it's embarrassing. It's a setback. It takes away from everything Heupel's doing on the field, putting a positive offensive identity on the field. And, I think Tennessee football's done a lot of great things, but unfortunately it's overshadowed by the acts of idiots. So it's sad.
I want to hear from the guy, Clay, and Bruce, you too. I want to hear from the guy that made the decision before the game to bring a golf ball with him to the contest. That's the guy I want to hear from, and I want to understand more about why he took a golf ball, Clay, to the Tennessee-Ole Miss game.
Yeah, and I'm curious to whether he had a 5-iron with him.
Yeah. Of all the things to be thrown on the field, Bruce, a golf ball was not what I was expecting.
Well, here's the thing, Lane Kiffin is the good guy now. You've totally turned this around where the program hopper and the guy that leaves programs behind him is one of the bad boys of college football. You made him take the high road. He didn't say anything derogatory. He still has good reflexes. He caught the water bottle as it was coming toward him, and I guess he had a lot of fun on Twitter after the game. But he kind of came out above the fray, and a bunch of Tennessee idiot fans made him look good. So I guess the thing I hope they follow up on, Chancellor Donde Plowman said they're, going to continue to suspend and keep people out of games that they've confirmed, I guess through cameras or people ratting on them that they threw things on the field. And I think they had 17 arrested, 48 kicked out of the game. And, that they need to follow up on that. It's something that happens in England. If you do things you're not supposed to do, you're banned for life. And, I think you're going to start doing things like that if you're going to police it and bring
bring a safe environment for college football fans.
So you mentioned Lane Kiffin leaving. We know he left Tennessee for the USC job, and I'm wondering, with this LSU job coming open, would he consider this Ole Miss? And I've got a list that I've compiled from a bunch of different sources that Bill Bender, Dennis Dodd, and some others have written out who they think would be possible candidates for this job. We've gotten a couple texts about Luke Fickell. And, Clay, you were telling us during the break, and I've heard this same sentiment, that him and his wife don't have any plans to leave Ohio. Now, he's probably one of the hottest names in college football right now. Other thing to think about,
Arkansas's first opponent right now on the schedule next year, too.
Other thing to think about is Cincinnati's about to be in the Big 12, right? So they're about to get a lot more publicity than they would, and he's
and
probably
more money.
Yeah, and he's probably waiting on that Ohio State job to come open whenever Ryan Day decides to call it quits or something happens there. So I just I know his name's mentioned. I know he's a popular guy based on how good of a coach he is, but I'm kind of like you, Clay. I can't see him leaving Cincinnati.
Well, the people that I know in that area don't think that he's going to leave. John Cooper's a friend of mine, and he's a John Cooper protege, and I talked to him a couple of years ago when he was the hot name, and Arkansas was looking for a coach, and he's like, he's not going to leave. He's not going anywhere. He's not going to the SEC. He'll take a Big Ten job more than likely. He's going to stay at Cincinnati if he can be successful until the Ohio State job comes open. And there's people that have told him he would be, the top choice if and the reason that comes up is that Ryan Day is an NFL guy, and that there's some thought that he might go to the NFL at some point. It's unlikely that anything bad's going to happen to him there because he's going to keep winning, right? So anyway, that's the Luke Fickell story.
I'm going to go through these names, guys, and I'll ask kind of each individually. Do you think this is good for or not? Tommy James Franklin, Penn State. We know that he's just a really good coach in college football. Was able to get Vanderbilt to 9, or it was 8 or 9 wins, whatever it was. Now, he's had Title IX issues in the past. I know LSU is dealing with some of those now, which some people have speculated that would lead to him not getting the job. Do you see James Franklin in Baton Rouge?
Well, he knows the SEC, but he knows the SEC East. Clay and Bruce, I don't know how well he would do in the West when he's got to contend with the Auburns and the Alabamas and the A&Ms of the world every week.
Yeah, I don't think that LSU can hire James Franklin. And I point to the issues that he had at Vanderbilt, where they had a highly publicized rape case with football players, and they've had enough of that at LSU in the last, 7 or 8 years of those kind of, assaults. And I don't think that he'll be at LSU.
Bruce, you brought up Lane Kiffin, and LSU is a better job than Ole Miss. I don't know how much better, but can you see the Lane train hopping from Oxford to Baton Rouge after this season?
Well, there's no part of Lane Kiffin's history that makes you think he's going to be loyal or faithful to anywhere, but I don't know. Jumping right over to LSU from Ole Miss, the way he's got that rolling, I don't know. It doesn't seem like he'd do it, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure they want him just because of what his offense is doing and how he's got that thing turned around. But I don't know. I just think even he would think that would be a little risky. But you're going to win a championship at some point at LSU. You're not going to do it at Ole Miss, so maybe that'll grab him. I wouldn't think so, but maybe so.
I was asking my uncle about this, Clay. Dave Aranda, now at Baylor. Baylor's having a pretty good year so far, and maybe it wouldn't be the flashiest fire for the Tigers, but there are ties to him. He's a tremendous defensive coordinator. He's doing well so far in Waco as the head coach. Could you see Scott Woodward going kind of back to the well and hiring one of Ed Orgeron's former assistants?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a possibility, but I think you didn't ask me about the Kiffin move, and I like that better. And I think Kiffin's going to understand that he's done. He's not going to have another Matt Corral, and he's a guy that to me is always on the move, mm-hmm. And so I think the Kiffin move to me would be flashier than the Aranda move, yeah. But Aranda might be a good choice.
One of the guys that's really flew up the coaching poll, Tommy, was passing game coordinator Joe Brady while he was at LSU. He, along with Scott Ensminger, were kind of directing the offense with Joe Burrow. He's now in the National Football League, similar to Matt Rule. I think he's the Panthers OC, if I remember that right. Now, it's been kind of said that he'd rather diagnose or kind of come up with NFL plays than recruit. But, I mean, any chance you think Woodward can convince Joe Brady come back and have a deadly offense like they did back in 2019?
You don't have to be the best recruiter in the world at LSU because there's so much talent in the state of Louisiana, but you got to be a strong recruiting and have a good organization to make sure that recruiting machine that's been there for years stays in place, because everyone in the SEC comes into the state of Louisiana. So I think you want a sitting head coach, Bruce, with that has a system and an organization of recruiting and knows coaches and has relationships. That's critical. And, you know, we saw when Brett Bielema came into Arkansas and didn't have the network of coaches and kind of abandoned Texas a little bit at times, that it came back to bite him. So I think if you're LSU, you're looking for someone that's got established recruiting networks in place.
Well, you want to establish a recruiting network, and you want a coach with big shoulders who's got head coaching experience. And Brady just doesn't tick all those boxes. So, I mean, if it was me, he'd be further down on the list.
Yeah, I'm right there with Bruce because of the head coaching experience. I think that is a massive job, and it's the things that'll come across his desk on a daily basis will keep him from figuring, from doing the things that he likes to do, which is dial up plays.
One of the guys that does have that massive coaching resume is Bob Stoops, and I know that Bruce, Tennessee thought they were going to get Bob Stoops at one point. He's just doing his thing on Fox with Big Noon Kickoff with Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, and those guys out there. USC has also been linked to Stoopsy a little bit. Is that a job that you think he'd consider in any way, shape, or form if he got a call to maybe come down to Baton Rouge?
I mean, I never covered Bob Stoops, so I don't know him personally, but I would just think at his age, living the life he's living, selling tequila or whatever he's selling in Oklahoma, his son's still playing at OU. I think he's got a good life right now, and I don't know. To me, I don't think that's how he'd want to go out.
Okay. What about the name that's really kind of picked up traction as of late, Tommy, is Mel Tucker, head coach at Michigan State. Spartans having a pretty good year thus far. It was at Colorado, now is at Sparty. And here's a guy that's got a defensive coordinator background. He was Kirby Smart's DC at one point and knows what it takes to do good things in the Southeastern Conference. I mean, I think there's a bigger. The more I read about him, the more likely I think it's a possibility that he can wind up as LSU's next coach.
Well, I mean, there's some connections there, but again, I go back to recruiting and are those relationships still there and are they established? Because at LSU, it's always going to be about that and being able to get those recruits, in state and then going into East Texas and get those guys as well. So I think that's got to be a strong consideration for Scott Woodward moving forward.
To me, that's the best hire on the list. You got a guy that's been a defensive assistant for Saban at Alabama. He's been at LSU. He's been at Georgia. He's been at the elite SEC program. Mm-hmm. He was the interim head coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Actually won 2 games. So he's done twice as good as Urban Meyer down there. But I think having a black head coach at LSU, breaking that barrier, and he's 7-0 right now at Michigan State. Yep. So I think you could do a lot worse than Mel Tucker.
I was reading, I can't remember if it was Brody Miller or what LSU beat writer it was, but they were talking about possibility of the administration wanting to be that first. I can't think of what LSU's president is. I know Woodward's their AD, but that was a possibility of that. Clay, last one, and we'll switch it up real quick. Mario Cristobal out at Oregon. I know he's got the connections with Alabama and Nick Saban, but could you see the LSU Tigers be able to sway him to come back to the SEC, not in Tuscaloosa, but in Baton Rouge?
I think a lot of him as a coach, and I like to watch his teams play. They're hard-nosed, physical. He's an old offensive line coach. There's some Sam Pittman type, allure to him, in that, that he does build his team the same way. But he's got it going at Oregon. If you've got it going in Oregon and to me, they're the top football program in the Pac-12. Why would he want to go to the SEC where they're not the top and he would have to rebuild? And it looks like a rebuilding project at LSU right now. I mean, I get it. There's a lot of top recruits 100 miles from campus, but that makes less sense than the Mel Tucker thing. And I'm with Bruce. That's the best guy on the list that seems to fit. And I bet he can hire a good staff that will have recruiting ties to that area.
This podcast has been presented by Bet Online.
Subscribe to the Hit That Line Podcast Network, the best podcast in the Natty State. Just search Hit That Line wherever you listen to podcasts. Brought to you by Breeden RV Center.